A nation is a large-scale sense of us, a social cohesion among strangers, a sense of shared destiny and culture. The nation is an awesome social technology that enables collective action and allows setting up societies that better serves the people. A nation-state is when the state is aligned with and serves a nation. Nation-states have been so successful that some people confuse the concepts of a nation and a state. However, in the West, the nation-state is being abandoned, with establishment states taking over, trying to atomize the individuals of the previous nations. The establishment states see the nation as a threat and have no allegiance to it. How about throwing your trash in the river or keeping the river clean? The cost of carrying the trash to the bin instead of just tossing it wherever, that cost is on you. But the benefit of a cleaner environment is diluted among the population. So for the atomized individual, it is better to just toss the trash. If there is a national sense of us, a sense of shared common good, then even if you discount the national interest by 90% compared to your own, it's likely better to take the trash to the bin. There could be social norms against tossing your trash in the environment, but how did those norms come to be? How are they maintained? The problem of maintaining good norms is similar to the problem of maintaining a clean environment. It requires that a lot of people do a little bit of unprofitable work for the benefit of the whole. Their willingness to do so is much higher if there's a shared sense of us. Another solution would be laws, with penalties for those who litter. But by what means are the laws aligned with the interests of the people, and how are the enforcer kept honest? Having good laws and honest police are common goods, similar to having clean rivers and good social norms. An atomized individual has no reason to promote them. The benefits are diluted among all, so unless you care about the people, why waste your efforts? There needs to be sufficiently many people that cares enough about the people at large that they choose to pursue such things that would be wasteful for the atomized individual. Corruption plagues most states. The negative consequences of corruption is spread out over the population, with a few persons making the backroom deals, or under-the-table deals, making the profit. Successful corruption requires someone that pays the bribe, someone who accepts it, and that noticing bystanders choose to look the other way rather than report, or that investigators choose to cover it up. In a country of atomized individuals, the only reason to refuse the bribes would be your own morality and the risk of getting caught. If the noticers and investigators are all for sale, you're a sucker if you refuse to make bank. Just like an atomized individual has no reason to get involved with trashy rivers and bad social norms, why would he take the risk of confronting corruption? In a nation-state with a strong nation, a strong sense of us, a strong shared loyalty, there will be a strong disdain for corruption. If you proposition someone with a bribe, they are more likely to report you. Noticers are more likely to report, and investigators are more likely to do their job. The least corrupt states are mostly nation-states with homogeneous populations. In a Lebanonized state, it gets bad. Multiculturalism means there is a diversity of within-group loyalties. If some group, whether ethnicity, clan, or whatever, if some group makes up a tiny fraction of the population, has in-group loyalty, corruption is much safer. The person your proposition will not report and will likely protect you from the investigators, because he would risk excommunication from the group if he betrays you, a fellow group member. While the in-group loyalty of the wide nation, that includes most of the population, reduces corruption, having a diversity of tiny groups with in-group loyalty instead acts as a lubrication. If there is an establishment state where all in the government has been vetted and found to be loyal to the establishment, there are some limits to how damaging corruption can be and still be tolerated. If corruption is so extreme that it makes the establishment look bad, so that it loses legitimacy, the establishment will not accept it. But less damaging corruption will become socially accepted within the establishment and be protected, such as getting high-paying jobs after they leave office, or ridiculous speaking fees, or insider trading. The nation is the answer to these problems. The nation-state is a social technology that enables collective action and allows setting up societies that, relative to the alternatives, better serves the people, with cleaner environment, better social norm, less odious laws, and less corruption. Example of policies to promote nation and nation-state include only allowing immigration for those who are sufficiently willing and able to assimilate into the nation, deporting illegal aliens, giving subsidies for immigration for a citizen of non-assimilating ethnicities, and teaching all children the primary language and civics of the nation, reserving positions of cultural and political importance primarily for those with strong loyalty to the nation, and promoting a shared sense of us. There are those that hate nationalism, some claiming the reason for their hatred is because nationalism can be used for war, to mobilize people to kill the other. And yes, a social technology that enables collective action can also be used for bad collective action, but that does not justify rejecting the technology, and it's really weird to do so. Consider fire, which is an awesome technology, enabling heating and food preparation. Should we have abandoned it just because it was also used for war? The wheel? or rather the axle with bearings, is an awesome technology that enables transportation of people and goods. Should it be abandoned because it can also be used for war? Steel and other metals are awesome materials that enables the making of all sorts of things. Should we abandon them and revert to the Stone Age just because metal can be used for war? I believe that the nation and the nation state, where the state serves the nation, is superior to other forms of states. It is more reliable at serving the people, establishing and maintaining civil rights, rule of law, democracy, and other such things that people want and need, including peace. Yes, with its capacity for collective action, it is more competent at war than most other social technologies, but it is less inclined to want them. What other kind of state is more reliable at serving the people while being less inclined to war? What better purpose is there to have the state serve, rather than the nation and the people? Not an aristocracy, where nobility rules. The state is them and the purpose of their state is to serve them. Nor an absolute monarchy, where the purpose of the state is to serve the whims of the king. These suck for the people, and they are every bit as inclined to go to war, just less competent at it. Nor the corporatized state that serves its oligarchic owners. It fails at servicing the needs of the people, and whatever aspect of democracy and civil rights that it might maintain is mostly theatre, and only for as long as it doesn't conflict with the needs of the oligarchs. It is also more willing and just about as adept at war. Anyone who hates nationalism because its capacity for collective action could be used for war would intensely hate the oligarchic, corporatized state. Well, there are those that answer humanity and wants to be citizens of the world. In principle, that sounds very nice, but how is it supposed to work? So far, the only transformation of state purpose that has really been promoted with this argument has been moving away from the nation and towards either oligarchy or establishment, liberating them from accountability towards the nation, without there being any global nation for them to serve or be accountable towards. Well, what is promoted under this argument can be seen as an establishment nation that includes ruling classes from a multitude of countries, while excluding ordinary folks, making this nation extremely exclusionary. They have a sense of us, a sense of community, and they value those bonds, and is on such a scale that it makes sense to call it a nation. They call what they do internationalism, despite that they hate all normal nations, calling them exclusionary and wanting nothing to do with them. As such, their establishment nation is interstatist, not international. To be international meaning between nations, they would have to be nations. You would have to value those nations. When the ruling class rejects local nations and accountability to them in favor of serving their interstatist ruling class nation, it's weird to call that internationalism. A more reasonable term would be interstatist or globalist. Those who say they are citizens of the world are either rootless, or their nation is this extremely exclusionary interstatist establishment nation. One distinction that deserves to be made is between the important value, the nation, freedom, democracy, working class, herd immunity against dangerous diseases, etc., and invoking that value to justify evil deeds. When this happens, you should denounce the evildoer, not the important thing that they invoked in their rhetoric to justify their evil deeds. So when the military-industrial complex embarks on another imperial war, killing hundreds of thousands of people in some faraway land, with propaganda lies about stopping Saddam from getting nukes or caring about democracy, then we should denounce the warmongers. We should not use it as a pretext to abolish democracy or give nukes to Saddam. That would be stupid. But when someone does evil deeds in the name of the nation, this is seen as the nation itself is something bad and should be abolished, that the social cohesion and sense of us should be eroded. This is weird to me. Someone who wants to do evil deeds and wants to try to justify it will do so in the terms of something important. That should not be an excuse to destroy the important thing. Consider commies invoking the working class to justify revolution and bloodbath that does not benefit the working class. Then the response is that the commies are bad, not to attack the working class. Even though commies are evil, we should still implement policies that benefit the people, including the working class. When warmongers within the establishment invoke freedom and democracy to justify invading foreign countries with brutal war, torture, death squads, and military juntas, that makes the targeted people worse off. The response should be to denounce the warmongers, not to denounce freedom and democracy. Even though the warmongers are evil, we should still value freedom and democracy. When the ruling class want to lock down society, shutter churches and gyms, and have mandatory vaccinations with a poorly tested novel vaccine, and shut down freedom of speech, censoring all who point out that the illness was produced through state-funded gain-of-function research, or that the poorly tested vaccines don't even reduce the spread, much less achieve any herd immunity. And they do all this in the name of vaccines and herd immunity. then we should blame the reckless authoritarian evildoers, and not vaccines in general, nor the ideal of herd immunity. But when someone does evil deeds in the name of the nation, that somehow justifies going after and destroying the nation, the social cohesion of the nation, to have relentless non-assimilating mass immigration that Lebanonizes the country? National homogeneity and tolerance are different things. A country can be homogeneous and tolerant, which is great. It can be intolerant multiculturalism, which is terrible. If you have one of them, it is mediocre. Sufficient tolerance can make a mixed society tolerable, provided that it lasts. And if society is intolerant but homogeneous, well, there aren't many minorities there to suffer from it. Regardless of where you are on these two dimensions, more homogeneous societies function better, more tolerant societies function better. These are two good things. It is common that those who advocate mass immigration conflate them into a single dimension. There's only intolerant homogeneity versus tolerant multiculturalism. So that if you have mass immigration, that supposedly improves tolerance. That opposition to mass immigration is opposition to tolerance. They speak as if multiculturalism means tolerance. But that is just a narrative. In reality, there is no such connection. If the immigrant groups are less tolerant than the indigenous population, that reduces tolerance. And if there are racist policies that favor immigrant groups at the expense of the indigenous, that will further breed resentment and intolerance. So what you actually accomplish with non-selective mass immigration, common in the Western world, is going from the greatness of tolerance and homogeneity towards the terribleness of intolerance and multiculturalism. It's an awful policy. If the nation is strong, that restrains the ruling class. If democracy is strong, that restrains the ruling class. But nation is currently weak, and thus so is democracy. When the ruling class invades Iraq or Afghanistan or other faraway countries for war profiteering and imperialist ambitions, claiming they do it for the safety of the nation and to spread democracy, when the people abhor endless wars and you have no plans for how to establish democracy anyway, that just shows the current weakness of the nation. When the establishment pushes transformative immigration to reduce wages, justifying it by invoking liberal democracy, that just illustrates how weak the nation, the democracy, and the working class has become. There's a need for such policy that strengthens the nation, the national community, the sense of us, the sense of shared destiny, to restore the nation-state. Example of policies include only allowing immigration for those that are sufficiently willing and able to assimilate in the nation, deporting illegal aliens. All children are taught the primary language and civics of the nation, promoting a shared sense of us and giving subsidies for immigration to citizens of non-assimilating ethnicities. But an odious ruling class prefers to weaken the nation by non-assimilating mass immigration, and instead of teaching the civics and virtues of the nation, the children are taught to despise it. It appears that those in the establishment nation wants to undermine the checks and balances that should restrain them and their abuses of power. Please let me and the algorithm know if there's a demand for more videos by liking, sharing, subscribing, or watching another video. Ceterum senseo paludem esse exoriendam.